Hello everybody, this is Ryan, the Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania, and we're going to be going out and visiting some glacial sites. First up is the Jacksville Esker and Tamarack Lake, Kettle Lake. I'm here at the Jacksville Esker. This is a really unique glacial landform here in Western Pennsylvania, and this is the best preserved esker in Western Pennsylvania. Locally, it's known as the Millersville Esker. Kind of pan over here. This is a long, sinuous ridge of glacial stone. We're going to go up on top of this esker so that you can see all the curves of it. From here, it doesn't look that dramatic, but once we get up close, it's a pretty incredible land feature. So here we are at the base of the esker. It's adjacent to a cornfield here. And wow, it's pretty steep. It's a giant mound of curving debris. Here we're right at the base of it now, looking up. Wow, this thing it's pretty steep. Get up here to the top of it and we can check out some of the curves. So this was deposited here about 23,000 years ago by a glacier. Oh, wow. Here some of it's eroding out a little bit. Notice all the rocks are round, and they're all different types. There's quartz, there's fine-grained sandstone. There's probably even some granite in here. All different kinds of rock are all mixed together. Let me get up to the top. So these curves are the leftovers from an ancient river that was flowing through the glacier. So you have to imagine that there's a massive wall of ice that's coming down from the north. And mixed in with that ice is all sorts of different rock, huge chunks the size of houses, all the way down to clay. And all these different kinds of rocks, as the glacier melts, rivers form on top of it and through it. And just like any river, sediments accumulate. And as the glacier melts out from underneath this ancient riverbed of sediments, it deposits it upside down. So the curves that we're seeing on this glacier mimic the curves of an ancient glacial river that no longer exists. One side of this esker is mowed every year so that people can walk on it and see its curves. The other side is forested. So we're going to go down through this forest and see if we can find maybe a groundhog hole or something like that where we can see some of the debris that this huge mound is made up of. And also, I don't know if you can see through the trees there, that's Tamarack Lake. It's an ancient kettle hole lake, and it's amazing that we have a glacial kettle hole lake right next to an esker. Let's go down there and see what we can see. Down here I found a little mound of stone that's coming up out of the ground. There's some sandstone. Some more sandstone. Everything is rounded because that glacier, ooh, look at that. Looks like a piece of flint. The glacier grinds up these rocks. Breaks off all the sharp corners. And we can find very tiny rocks, like down to the size of clay or sand. Ones that'll fit in the palm of your hand. There's some glacial leftovers that are really massive. Oh, but here's just a couple of round cobbles here. Piece of sandstone. No, all this stone was carried a great distance by the glacier. Whenever we find non-native rocks around here like flint and granite, those were brought down from the Canadian Shield by that massive river of ice that we call a glacier. And it went into northern Butler County in Pennsylvania and then started to retreat around 20,000 years ago. Oh, look at this pile. Oh, wow. Wow. So here's some bigger glacial cobbles. Most of these are sandstone. I'm sure if I dug around in here, I don't want to disturb it, but I'm sure if I dug around, ooh, there's a big one. You'll probably find a lot of different kinds of stones. So it's all jumbled together. So here we are in the shores of Tamarack Lake. So this was an ancient kettle hole lake. Looks like these geese aren't happy to see me. So a kettle hole lake happens when there's a massive chunk of ice that breaks off of a glacier. And as it melts away, I mean, hundreds of thousands of tons of rock and debris surround this giant block of ice. And then whenever it melts, it leaves these roughly roundish, straight-sided deep lakes. Now this lake isn't very deep anymore, but whenever it was first formed, it would have been a deep, steep-sided lake. So here's Tamarack Lake, ancient Kettle Hole Lake, and the ridge behind me is the Esker. I just discovered this groundhog hole, and look at all the debris that the groundhog has dug out to build his burrow. I mean, this is geologist's playground here. There's flint right here and here. Oh, there's some more flint right there. Oh, there's granite right here. So there's some granite. There's another chunk of granite. Granite's an igneous rock. It's not formed in Pennsylvania, but it is much farther north. Ooh, this is all iron ore here. Oh, there's a big chunk of iron ore right there. That's frozen apart into smaller pieces. Sandstone, there's some quartz. Sometimes we call that lucky stone. At least that's what we called it when I was a kid. So all different kinds. I wonder if there's any limestone even in here. Oh, that looks like a big chunk of... Yeah, that's a big piece of flint. That's amazing. So who knew a groundhog hole could produce so much enjoyable earth material? So if you would like to visit this Esker, and part of it is accessible to the public, it's in northern Butler County next to Moraine State Park. And you can walk up onto the Esker and over to the Kettle Hole Lake that's adjacent to it. There's a small parking lot along the road. And this is part of Moraine State Park's Trail of Geology. And that's a driving tour that you can take to see some of these sites.